Bond. James Bond.
In case I don't see ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Did we just become best friends?
Yup! Sublime!
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Tear me apart, Lisa!
But mostly I hate the way I don't hate you. Not even close. Not even a little bit. Not even at all.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Hi, friends, and welcome to another episode of You Haven't Seen That, a movie discussion podcast where we introduce our friend Ben to movies he should have seen a long time ago. I'm your host, Amanda.
I'm Geoff.
And I'm Ben.
And today we are talking about Midnight in Paris. And stick around until the end. We will be discussing our top 4 favorite decades that we would like to live in.
Midnight in Paris. While on a trip to Paris with his fiance's family, a nostalgic screenwriter finds himself mysteriously going back to the 1920s every day at midnight. Released in May of 2011, the number one song at the time, E.T. by Katy Perry, which, when this movie was released in the United States, eventually became Rolling in the Deep by Adele. In world news, Osama bin Laden was recently killed. And in pop culture news, this month marked the last airing of the Oprah Winfrey Show. A little real time capsule there. I know.
Not long ago.
Yeah, it's crazy. This movie was directed by Woody Allen. This movie stars, in the real world, in the 2010 world, Owen Wilson, Rachel McAdams, and Michael Sheen. And then when we go back in time, we've got a whole slew of people. Marion Cotillard, Kathy Bates, Adrian Brody, Corey Stoll, Tom Hiddleston. A whole crop of people in this cast. With a $17 million budget, this movie ended up grossing $152 million worldwide at the box office. This is the highest grossing movie of Woody Allen's career. This movie was very well received critically. It has a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes and an 81 on Metacritic. And this movie was nominated for 4 Academy Awards, winning 1 of them. It won Best Original Screenplay, and it was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Art Direction, aka Production Design. It lost the first 2 there to The Artist, and it lost Art Direction to Martin Scorsese's Hugo.
All right. Thank you. So, Ben, why don't you tell us your history with Midnight in Paris?
I don't really have too much of a history. I've never seen a Woody Allen movie before this. I know he's a little, controversial these days, but I know a lot of people still have fondness for his movies. Yeah, I don't remember much about this coming out or being, I wasn't too closely following the Oscar race at the time. I don't really remember it being in theaters or anything. I'm sure I remember some commercials and stuff, but I do have a history with Paris. I went there as a junior in high school. So, I've been there once. I would like to go back sometime.
So you're an expert.
I'm an expert on Paris.
Just like someone in the movie. All right, Geoff, what is your history?
Much like Ben, I don't really have a strong history with this movie. This is also my first Woody Allen movie. The only kind of aspect with Woody Allen that I was familiar with from a in-the-movie perspective is that for a lot of his movies early on in his career, he starred in them as well as directed them and was very hands-on in that process, really gaining notoriety in that sense. So I was interested to check out this movie and see where it would go. So Ben was the one that suggested this. So yeah, I was excited when he did. I think it was a good selection to try out.
Awesome. And I have zero history with this movie. I didn't even really know it existed until Ben mentioned it a couple weeks ago. And I think I mentioned this last week on the podcast that I was like, who knows? None of us have seen it, and I have no idea what it's about. Owen Wilson and Rachel McAdams. I can get down with that.
I feel like given those stars, it's a little surprising you haven't had some connection to it. I think we mentioned that before, but
yeah, for sure. And 2011 was not, I don't know. I was in college. Like it seems like I would have heard of it, but I did not.
I think, yeah, I think it might be a little too, I don't want to say artsy for me at the time, because Ben said I wasn't super into the whole Academy Awards race or anything like that. Yeah, it was an interesting little time capsule, if you will, being like, oh yeah, I was in the middle of college, wasn't even focused about movies outside of like maybe the big ones at this time. So,
And I do feel like even though it's Owen Wilson and Rachel McAdams, I think something about like a Woody Allen art film like felt like an old person thing probably to us in our early
Yeah.
20s or
definitely.
teenage, like college, early 20s age. Like that, despite the stars, it probably had that kind of. I doubt there's a ton of people our age range who were going to see it in the theaters at the time.
And even then, I'm looking at the movies that were nominated for Best Picture along with this, the 9 movies that were. It's The Artist, which won, The Descendants, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, The Help, Hugo, Midnight in Paris, Moneyball, The Tree of Life, and War Horse. So of that list, I think from like a pop culture sense, you have Moneyball and maybe War Horse because that's Spielberg, but
Yeah, it's not
Maybe
like the
Hugo goes
most.
Scorsese.
I feel like that group of movies has not stood the test of time compared to some Best Picture lineup.
absolutely.
I've seen none of those except for this one, but I have heard of a lot of
I
them.
have, yeah,
Yeah.
but I have not. Yeah, I've not seen any of those until this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. All right. Geoff, why don't you give us your score?
I was very annoyed with this movie when it started because it felt like a lot of conversations around this time and it felt very much like a time capsule. But I think as the movie grew and continued to develop and we started going back in time and bouncing in between the two realities, I found like that whole beginning segment was the point of the movie or like one of the points of the movie. And ultimately by the end, I was charmed. I liked the balance between the past and the present. And I think that when we went back in time, I was having a blast with it. So I'm going to give this movie a 3.75.
All right. And what about you, Ben?
Yeah, I felt similar to Geoff. I was not sure about it at first. I love that opening montage, but after that,
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't too sold on it in the present day. But once they went, real quick sidebar before I get my score.
Of course.
Even though we talked about last week when we were looking up time-related things because we had done, what were we doing?
Harry Potter. Harry Potter.
Harry Potter,
and
yes.
Prisoner
I
of
was like, what were we doing talking about? Even though we had done a time-related thing, and I remember looking up time-related things and finding Midnight in Paris on a lot of lists and being like, oh, I didn't know this had something to do with time travel. I totally forgot watching the movie. I totally forgot there's something time element until all of a sudden he's back in the 20s. And I was like, oh yeah, that's what this movie is about. I forgot. So that was a pleasant surprise, and I did enjoy it more once it got to that. And I was pretty charmed by it too. I'm gonna give it a 4.
Nice.
All right. And second sidebar, Ben, when we were discussing what we were going to do for top 4, and you were like, I don't want to give anything away. I was like, we already know it's about time travel. So
Yeah, but I
like,
didn't. I didn't apparently didn't remember.
I was like, so I assume they're going back to different decades. Yeah, I didn't love this. I thought it was really pretty to look at, and I loved everything about the Paris vibes. Everything else I was not super sold on. I am going to give this a 2.75.
Wow. Another rom-com that Ben rates way higher than Amanda.
What can I say?
I was about to say, not a ton of rom.
No. I don't know.
Not
I
a
feel
ton
like,
of calm.
well, I
I
feel like
was
there's a
laughing.
fair amount of both. If you're going to put this in a genre, isn't it going to be
I
there
guess
more
so.
than anything else?
I would put it in the, probably in the
Romantic
comedy
drama,
category.
like a romantic drama.
Let's see. Let's see what the official category is.
And the romance is between Gil and Paris.
Yeah.
Comedy,
Well, and
fantasy, romance.
fantasy, yeah. And Marion Cotillard. I
And
think
Marion
they're-
Cotillard, yes.
Yeah.
That's very true. Ben, you brought up the...
Not with Rachel McAdams, which we'll get
No,
into.
no, absolutely not. You brought up the whole beginning there, Ben, and you were right about the whole intro to this. I was like, oh, I like the vibe of just being there. I'm like, okay, yeah, you didn't need to sell me on going to Paris, but I'm sold on going to
like
Paris.
to me it was like stereotypical Paris spots, but it was still just stunning.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I know like they're gonna show the Eiffel Tower or the Arc de Triomphe and and yet it's still really romanticized it, and more romantic than I remember Paris being. Have either of you been to Paris?
No.
Okay.
Near the top of the list for us.
Yeah. So when I went, it was part of a trip throughout France, and Paris was definitely not my favorite part of France. I was like, this is French New York City, and I love New York City, but I will say, like, the first day we got to Paris, and we were like at a little French cafe eating our baguettes outside with the Arc de Triomphe in full view. I was like, this is like, even as a high school kid, I was like, I get it.
Yeah.
But I think I'd appreciate it more now than I probably did then.
Probably. And yeah, Paris is definitely on the bucket list because it's like you have to see Paris, but I'm definitely more excited to see other parts of France.
Yeah. The like Loire Valley where all the castles are was stunning. There were parts I liked way more than Paris, but yeah, I would like to go back to Paris because I feel like maybe I'd have more of a plan for how I wanted to see it. I was on a school trip. I didn't really have much choice in what to explore.
Yeah. You want to see it in the 20s at night in the rain?
Yes.
I'm guessing.
Got to go away. Okay. One thing I have to say before we continue. This romantic bit about walking in the rain, I'm with Rachel McAdams on this. Like, it's not romantic walking in the rain. It never has been. If you've ever walked in like a downpour, there's very little romantic feelings about that, in my opinion. So I'm with. I know she was a wet blanket through the whole movie, but like I was in agreement with her on that particular topic.
Here's the thing. When she declined to walk with him in the rain, it was not downpouring. It was a gentler rain. And he also had an umbrella. And so in that particular moment, I was like,
shoes get all wet.
I would have walked, depending on how far it was. If we're talking like a multiple mile walk, no, thank you. If we're talking a little like 10-15 minute stroll, sure. The walk
and I
he
love
took at
like
the end when it was downpouring, no thank you.
Yeah.
Like that I agree is not romantic at all.
I love like being inside when it's raining out and having the windows open and hearing the rain and stuff, but I don't actually like walking in it.
No.
If it's just a light rain,
yeah, maybe whatever, but
yeah, but you can't guarantee that though. Now as an adult, I'm like, as a kid, it's like, whatever. But now as an adult, I'm like, it's a whole ordeal. It's like I have to change the clothes ready. He's got to go in the dryer, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, when I was younger, like a teenager, I thought kissing someone in the rain was like the most romantic thing you could ever do.
Thanks to The Notebook?
Maybe. I don't know.
Actually.
I mean, stuff in general, right? That's always... even outside of The Notebook. But you know what? I did it. Not anything to write home about.
No.
No sparks flying.
It's never as it's never going to be as romantic as it looks on film.
Never.
Nope.
But anyway, since we're on Rachel McAdams, we're going to talk about her. I don't know how you guys felt, but I felt like at the beginning when I forgot that this was a time travel movie and thought maybe it was about the two of them being in love, I didn't dislike her at first. I felt like at first they played it fine, and then she got more insufferable. At first it felt more like the parents were insufferable. And then I felt like she became worse and worse. And then I was like, did I just miss it at the beginning? Like, was she that bad the whole time? I don't know how you two felt about her.
I thought she was that. Like my third note is about her. I'm like, she's. But the first time I also said it, I was like, okay, like it's not just her that sucks. Like he sucks too, and they are just not right for each other.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. As the movie went on, it was like, oh, okay, no, she
became like real terrible by the end.
Yeah.
Like she was not that. Maybe because that other guy was even worse than her. Maybe she didn't seem so bad. But she became real frustrating later as the movie went along.
Yeah.
It's a thankless role for her too.
Big time thankless role. That was my fourth note as well, and agree with you both. It was like they are just not really gelling as a couple. But yeah, I was just rolling my eyes a lot at Gil at the beginning. So I'm like, on Inez's side a little bit, but then her parents get introduced, and then there's that whole layer, and you're kind of beating on the guy throughout the whole time. So yeah, it feels like the movie kind of makes you have to warm up to Gil a little bit, and then once you get warmed up to him, and it's like, oh, now everybody's against him, and it's like you understand his motives for doing what he wants to do and pursuing what he wants to pursue, and then he gets the whole rewarding sequence throughout the movie as he goes back in time. It's yeah, everything is just building up against her and for him throughout it. So yeah, she didn't work on me as the movie went on for sure.
Yeah, I was honestly grateful whenever we went to the time traveling portions because I was like, get me out of present day. I don't want to spend any more time with these people.
Yeah.
I hate them all.
Yes.
So,
just the worst. I feel like just Paul, I want to punch that character in the face, which I guess is a testament to like the writing and how it was developed.
Oh,
but, like,
he was so insufferable.
Insufferable. Oh my gosh. And just everyone be like, oh, he's an expert in this. He's an expert in this.
Yeah.
It's like, shut
But
up.
don't you feel like people like that?
Oh, 1,000%. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, like, who speak with such authority but don't really know what they're saying.
And that's the thing. The power of a man with that level of confidence and
I can think of
arrogance.
real life people that I know personally, and I can think of a former quarterback of my favorite team who now plays for the Steelers who also is that way.
What? No way.
the audacity to fight with the guide, like that was the part that really made me want to punch him in the face.
It's like the worst type of man.
Yes. Yes. Awful.
I guess with it, not counting someone who's violent or whatever. Like I'm like a generally harmless person. It is the worst type.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, so awkward to watch. And everybody just loving him throughout every second of it. It's just like, okay, we get it. It's terrible.
And then she slept with him. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, they are meant for each other.
Big
I
time.
know.
Maybe there should be a sequel just focused on the two of them.
Her breakup at the end was bizarre, honestly. Like, I didn't know what to make of it.
Yeah.
He was like, we're breaking up. And she was like, what? And then he just walked out.
Yeah, and everyone was
And
just
that
like
was
relatively chill with it. Like the parents were probably, I know the parents were thrilled.
Yeah.
But
her mom. Oh.
It did have the feeling of, I felt like I think it was supposed to be annoyed by the present day stuff as the movie went along. So I think that was intentional, but it did feel like at the end, it felt a little bit like they were just a mechanism and they didn't quite know how to get out of that. Like you said, it was like they just needed to wrap that side of the story up so they could finish what they wanted to do and what this was actually about. Because I thought it was, which we'll get into, I'm sure, I thought it was so poignant, like the conversation he had with Marion Cotillard about the glory days or the best. You know what I mean? Like, that was, I thought, a really interesting discussion. And then I felt like in the present day, they didn't quite know how to wrap the movie up.
yeah. That's a good point. That was a really good point about the ending. It's just kind of like, yep, all right, we're done. And he's just never going to go back in time. So that's it. Even like the way it plays out there in the Moulin Rouge when we were in like her sort of dream decade back in the 1800s. It's always just like, yeah, okay, yeah, but the present, that's the present. It's dull, but you don't know and whatever. And then, okay, bye. But
that was my favorite part of the whole movie was that conversation they had. And where she was like, surely you don't think the 20s are the golden age.
Yeah.
Like, I just thought, what an interesting perspective on things. People always think it's hard to romanticize the present day.
It really is.
And I think that's true both in terms of culturally, like within a time period. Certainly nobody's going to be romanticizing the 2020s. But will there come a time at some point people will look back at this as like a more innocent time? I don't know. But you never feel it when you're in the middle of it. And I think that's even true just even within your own personal lives. Like there are times where I look back at certain times of my life with very rose-colored glasses, more than I felt about them at the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a human nature. And I feel like it was an interesting discussion about that. I almost wish there had been more of that kind of exploration in the film.
I think there were two lines from this movie that I wrote down in my notes. And both of them are related to what you're talking about there. The first one was that line, the second one, I should say. Second one was, but that's the present, it's dull. And then the first one I wrote down was, nostalgia is a denial of the painful present. And I feel like as millennial, I know that's like a common thing with millennials, a lot of nostalgia bait, and that's something that is very present in what is presented to us from a pop culture sense today, from a movie perspective or a TV perspective or what have you, is very nostalgia coded because, yeah, we see everything with these rose colored glasses, but you have to live in the present because, yeah, you don't know how your decisions today will impact those down the road. And people looking back on you might think, yo, you're the best. You're the one who's come up with all this great stuff, and you don't even realize you're achieving greatness or in the presence of greatness. So, yeah, it's a good reminder to live in the present. And, yeah, you can dream of the past, but live for today kind of deal. So, I ultimately did like the message by the end, and I think, yeah, the conversation there in that sort of past scene helped to bring it home.
From the wise words of a wise musical, no day but today.
Yikes.
Oh my goodness.
Is that not what you're saying? I recently saw something on Instagram that was like, nostalgia is just your memories with the trauma removed. And I was like, you know what? They're not wrong.
No,
not wrong.
So, and I don't know. I feel like this is maybe one of the only movies that I feel like that I've seen that has broached this subject of nostalgia. But I just feel like they were hitting me over the head with it by the end. I just felt like the whole movie was like, oh, the past is better, the past is better, the past is better. And their conversation at the end, I did find it interesting when she was saying what she was saying about the 20s not being the best time and whatever. It just felt, okay, I get it. Like, I get what you're saying about nostalgia in the past.
I do think it could have been explored a little deeper. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I still liked the general, like, thematic discussion about it, though.
And I liked
and
how
the way it made me think about things too.
And I liked how when he comes back from that past time and is reintegrated into the present, he finds moments and people within the present time to connect with and help to realize his true self, like people within Paris and what have you.
And I think it would do all of us good to try to remember that from time. There's going to come a time that we're going to look back on what we're living right now with nostalgia. Like, it's just natural.
Yeah.
I always think that, like, when I'm like uber stressed, when my 2-year-old has been throwing a tantrum and the house is a mess and everything, I'm like, but there's going to come a time where I'm going to wish he was 2 again.
Right.
He's going to be 14
Absolutely.
saying he hates me, and
Right.
and I'm going to miss when he was 2. And I think, I don't know, it's a good, I feel like, good reminder to people to live in the present, because living in the past or future too much is not a good way to go.
Absolutely. So I feel like another thing that kind of annoyed me about the movie when they were in the past was it just felt it just felt so much, wow, this person, wow, that person, wow. It never ended. The number of people that he encountered that were famous just never ended.
Yeah. Both famous actors and famous people.
Right.
Yeah. And I will say, it probably didn't help that I honestly did not know who like half of these people were. Like the famous people. I was like, who is that? What? Like they did a okay job at being like, oh, those are famous surrealist painters, or like grouping people together to give you somewhat of an idea that like, oh, those are writers. Oh, those ones are artists. But yeah, a lot of the people I was like, I have no idea who these people are. So watching them in the movie, I was like, this means nothing to me.
I knew who most of them were. I didn't know every single one, but I knew most of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they were it was all very interesting portrayals of the people that I was semi-familiar with. I've heard of all, it's one of those things where I've heard of all of the names, and I know the basic idea of them, but there's only like a true handful of them that were shown that I'm like, okay, I know, at least I've had an understanding of their personalities and stuff like that.
I did think the surrealist part was funny though, where he was like explaining what was going on, and they're like, "That sounds." Of course, you'd think that.
Yeah, which is very funny. I know, and with Adrian Brody there at the center of them, I'm like, yeah, that works. All that part of it works. I know we haven't talked really much about the whole past world, other than we liked it or we dug it or really highlighted moments there. But I did really enjoy the moments where the movie came to life in those moments in the past, where we get introduced to Scott and Zelda Fitzgerald or Ernest Hemingway or Gertrude Stein.
In a Loki preview.
I
was like, they're going to be on a Disney Plus show together in the future.
That's hilarious when you think about that. Oh my gosh.
They were just in a different timeline before the
That's
TVA.
Right. This is one of the different.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, when he started, because I didn't realize that Tom Hiddleston was going to be in this movie until like I saw, I think it was like the opening credits showing like, oh, the cast of whoever's in the movie. I was like, oh, what's he going to be? Like, I didn't know. And then, yeah, he shows up and starts speaking an American accent. I'm like, oh. Hey, Tom. Fun to see Corey Stoll. Corey Stoll, I feel like I was first introduced to him through House of Cards and Ant-Man, where he plays the scummy politician in House of Cards, and then he's the villain, over-the-top villain in Ant-Man. So maybe not a great introduction, but I feel like everything else I've seen Corey Stoll in outside of those, I'm like, yeah, I've dug his vibe. I've liked what he's done for sure. It's just those moments from those other two things are just so seared in my brain that it's hard to look away from that. But it's fun to see on the screen. Same thing with Kathy Bates. Love seeing Kathy Bates just show up and be Kathy Bates.
She's always reliable.
Oh, yeah.
You always know you're in good hands in a Kathy Bates scene.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One of the questions I had was, did all these famous people, did they all like actually know each other and all have this like interconnectedness that the movie appears to make them have?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
it is a good question.
Like,
I don't really know, but I do think like Paris was like a hub in the 20s.
Surely.
I don't think it's too far out of the realm. Possibly they were all.
And I'm sure like Scott Fitch, and again, I apologize to all of our historians that are listening to this podcast and know history better than I do, and I apologize for not having done the research, but I'm sure like Scott Fitzgerald and Ernest Hemingway knew each other or came across each other in passing, or in the world of Europe and European art, like Picasso, and I know in the movie Picasso and Dali don't cross paths, but like I'm sure they've crossed paths before and stuff. But in terms of the true like American European crossover, yeah, I don't know, but either way, it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're a historian, tell us in the comments.
How accurate is this movie?
Yeah. Did Gertrude Stein really have Pablo Picasso? Was he like living with her? I don't even know. I don't know what that situation was, but anyways.
I like the moments too, after he comes back from meeting the Picasso, the scene in the art gallery where they see the one painting. I did laugh at that part where I was like, oh, he knows because he was in this room or whatever. Thought that was a really fun moment to see and crossover between from the past to the present.
Agreed.
What was I gonna say? I was very I have not seen Marion Cotillard in a lot of things, and I liked her a lot in this. I thought she really had the vibe of a French woman in the 20s. And I'm watching her now on the morning show, which is just one of my hate watch shows.
She's in the morning show?
Yeah, because everybody's in the morning show.
That's fair. Touche.
She's in the new season, and she's frustrating like everybody on that show. So I enjoyed her in this a lot more.
Nice. Before this, I'm going back to my logs. I've definitely obviously seen her in stuff, but I've seen her. The two big things I know her from were Inception as Dom Cobb's wife, and she is a major character in the third movie of the Batman Dark Knight
I forgot
trilogy.
I saw her in Inception just recently. Duh.
But in both of those movies, they're both American movies, and she's pushed to the side or whatever, and given parts that are thankless. So she isn't given moments to shine like she is in a movie like this. So yeah, it was nice to see her get a spotlight and do well, like you said, Ben, as a French woman in the 20s, and she nails it. She's also won an Academy Award for La Vie en Rose.
She
So
has the look of a French woman in the 20s. Like I feel like her like facial features are very much like you would see from old black and white photographs of that era.
oh, absolutely.
Um, by the way, Google AI, take it what you will, says that the people in Midnight in Paris did not hang out, but that they did have connections to each other. So although the social circle of hanging out was fictionalized, like several of them did know each other.
All right. That's fair.
Fair enough.
You know who's real annoying?
Who?
Ernest Hemingway.
Speaking about a copy guy and
Yeah.
cocky guy and whatever, yeah, he's just
That was
saying what he
probably
wants.
pretty accurate for him, I feel like.
Probably from the little that I know about him. Like, you ever seen a man die? You ever made love to a woman? Like, all right, pal.
There's a couple real Owen Wilsonisms in this that
Yes.
that I'm like, when he's back in the past and he's I'm in a very perplexing situation. I was like, it was interesting. I don't know that it always worked for me, but like Owen Wilson's vibe in the 20s and the 1890s was an interesting,
Yeah.
I don't know, an interesting pairing, let's say.
Oh, for sure. And what's funny, this movie made me realize that I came to know Owen Wilson from the comedies and from movies, a movie like Wedding Crashers, for example, but he's had his ties with quote unquote artsy filmmaking. Like, he was one of Wes Anderson's closest compatriots earlier on in his career, and he's stuck with him throughout all of that, all the way up until The French Dispatch. And obviously he's done a movie like this, so it is funny seeing Owen Wilson in movies like this, and then you hear like him go, wow, and different moments like that. It's like, oh yeah, they're still sneaking through even in movies like this.
Oh, for sure.
But he didn't say ka-chow.
He did not say ka-chow.
So sad.
I don't know. I thought he was I think he was all right as a lead. I think it's pretty safe, and he comes across well enough as I don't want to say like a bumbling semi-smart guy, but it worked. He worked as a bumbling semi-smart guy.
Yeah, I agree. It was okay.
Yeah.
I think someone else probably could have done a better job with it, but he wasn't bad.
No. I think it worked enough to where he could carry the movie, but not stand out so much in moments where he's supposed to be standing back and taking everything in from his outside surroundings around the 20s and then going back even further than that. Certainly have moments, but overall, I was a fan of it. Again, it sold me on Paris. I always get interested whenever I see portrayals of sort of those intellectual conversations and trying to compare it to like my personal experiences from college or things like that. I was always intimidated by those sort of scenarios, and I never did well in those scenarios. Granted, I'm not the smartest person in the world, the sharpest tool in the shed, whatever you want to call it, but it's fun to see what we would go through maybe in like for me in like a college setting or whatever, be played out in a movie like this, and then go back and having those conversations and almost having it be like a fantasy dream for this guy, and then also a struggle of what he has to deal with in the real world. So I thought it was an interesting portrayal of all of that. So
what would you guys do if you had one night in Paris in the that's the Paris Hilton. If you had
right
from midnight on in Paris, what would you do with your night?
Oh gosh.
Wait, like we traveled back in time?
Yeah, you got picked up by the car. What would you do for the night?
Here's my question. Does the car just take you to whatever time you're most nostalgic for?
And they don't really get into the mechanisms of the time traveler.
So I'm curious how the detective ended up so far back. And
Yeah, that's a good question.
yeah, because he ended up in a completely different time. But obviously, when Owen Wilson was with Adriana, they ended up in her most nostalgic time. So that's why
It's true.
I'm curious if that's where it would take you. But
Yeah.
anyways, I wouldn't make it. I wouldn't be awake at midnight. I would never be in this scenario.
Yeah, Mindy, you would never be in this position.
You'd just be sleeping in 2010 happily at your hotel.
I'd come back and be like,
You are Rachel McAdams.
Hey now. Hey.
meanwhile, I'm sitting here going insane, being like, I just met this person or that
I
person.
mean, I think going to one of those fancy clubs would be pretty cool, but also just walking the streets as long as it wasn't raining.
Where, yeah, fewer cars are out in the roads. There's, yeah, more walking around. Yeah, I feel like it would be a little livelier.
They liked to party in the 20s. So
Sure did. And like they said at one point in the movie, this was the third thing I wrote down. Sorry, I wrote down 3 things. They did say at one point, only the Fitzgeralds can throw a party like this. Shout out to the Great Gatsby. So, yeah, they sure like to party. And then just wait however many years until 1929. But that's for America to worry about, not Paris. But
I was also a little bit, I know I shouldn't think too hard about this, but a little bit like, is what he's doing in the past changing anything in the future? And then when he found that book that I guess was Adriana's diary or something, I don't even know. Like,
Yeah.
what are the chances he would just stumble upon that? But anyways, so then she's writing about it, and I'm like, so what he does change the future, but like nothing
Right?
drastically seems to be changing. Like it's all the same.
yeah,
It didn't seem to want to be a kind of movie to explore that part of it very much.
No, it was like, this is what happens. Deal with it. Buckle in. This is what's happening.
exactly. I know, I was definitely noting that too. I'm like, oh gosh, what's going to happen? Because granted, I don't think anything else changed in the real world. Oh, books were written in a different way because Gertrude Stein just read this novel that about a quote unquote nostalgia shop. Blows people's minds in the 1920s. Who knows what the heck that is? Don't even know.
Yeah. All right. So, do either of you have any final thoughts before we move into our movie recommendations? Okay. So, Geoff, why don't you give us your movie recommendations?
Okay. So I've got 3 movies to pair with Midnight in Paris. The first one is a silly one, but it's Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, where Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter go back in time and they meet a bunch of historical figures. What better movie to pair with it than another movie that we go back in time and meet some historical figures? The second one is more of a romance sense, but it also relates to time travel. Is I'm going to go with About Time. I was thinking about The Notebook, but they don't actually like necessarily go back in time in The Notebook. It's just, hey, we're going to tell a story in the past, also being here in the present and whatnot. So I'm going to stick with About Time, which is Domhnall Gleeson and Emilia Clarke in that romance. It's also in Europe. And then the third movie is a Woody Allen movie. It's the Woody Allen movie that I know. Like I said before at the beginning of this podcast, I hadn't seen any Woody Allen movies before this. So I've never actually seen this one, but it's the one that I'm most familiar with is Annie Hall with him and Diane Keaton. So those would be the 3 I would pair with Midnight in Paris.
Great. Thank you. Ben, what are your TV recommendations?
I have 2. One of them is an obscure show from Amazon called Z, The Beginning of Everything, which is about F. Scott Fitzgerald and Zelda, primarily about Zelda, with Christina Ricci playing the title character there.
Interesting.
It lasted 1 season. It got renewed for a second season and then got unrenewed, so it never made a second season. This was back in the real early days of Amazon doing originals back before Mrs. Maisel, before any of their kind of breakout. Maybe I can't remember if it was before or after Transparent, which was their breakthrough one. But it only lasted 1 season, but it was interesting. I did watch it. I don't remember too much about it. And then the other one that might be an obvious choice is Emily in Paris, which is, I believe, going into its 5th season on Netflix.
That's crazy.
Bizarre.
I believe it's coming out. It comes out around Christmas time every year. I watched the first 2, maybe 3 seasons. It became pretty insufferable eventually, but if you're into like the romantic French feel and hitting all the popular French spots in a very stereotypical way, that might be the show for you.
Nails it perfectly. There you go.
Emily en Paris.
Emily en Paris.
Oh my gosh.
Perfect.
And believe it or not, one of the most embarrassing comedy series nominations in the history of the Emmys, because in the COVID year.
That's right. Oh
it
my
got
gosh, that's right. It did get
for
nominated.
comedy series, which is ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
Yes, I do remember that.
That's crazy.
These are the depths we had to go to.
Yes.
I know. That was before I even cared about like the Emmys and that level of TV coverage. So I'd be curious to know what it maybe knocked out instead of
Yeah, I
out of that
believe
position.
I'm trying to think what year that was. I think it was 2021. Which let me just look, because there were I remember at the time, like, because Cobra Kai also got in, which I haven't seen Cobra Kai, but people
right.
thought that was unusual too. Yeah, okay, so yeah, those two ran along with Ted Lasso, Blackish. Ted Lasso was the winner. The Flight Attendant, the first season of Hacks, and the Kaminsky Method.
Weird year.
And as far as what could have been in, that's a good question. Let me just real quick. Hold, please. Now you've got me curious, Jeffrey.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take us down this rabbit hole. I apologize.
No, I'm curious now. Now my computer's being slow.
A night of technical difficulties.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, hold on.
Let's say, I wonder, I'm trying to see who else would be nominated in like other like acting categories potentially, and pairing those kind of TV shows.
Okay,
with...
so could have been nominated Girls Five Eva's first season, which I thought was really fun.
I did like that first season.
Shrill, Superstore. It wasn't, I mean, there wasn't a gazillion things to choose from. I don't want to make it sound like there was a lot of choices, but still, there are things I would have given over Emily and Perry.
Girls Five Ever and Superstore right there.
Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely. All right. Let's move into our top 4. So, as I mentioned at the top, today we are doing our top 4 favorite decades that we would want to live in.
See, I thought we were doing travel too, but I don't know if that would change my list.
No, no change, no change is necessary.
Sorry. You said
Sorry.
at the beginning of the episode, and I was like, did I misunderstand?
No, I just always say something and then you're like, that's wrong, Amanda. All right, fine. Our top 4 favorite decades that we want to travel to.
Yeah, like a nighttime situation like this.
Yeah.
Cars picking you up at midnight that I will never be able to.
Doesn't have to be midnight. Doesn't have to be midnight, but
Oh, great. Because I had 0 decades written down because I would never make it. Yeah. Okay.
It just is picking you up at your favorite time of day to go to the decade.
Perfect. Can pick me up at noon instead of midnight.
I don't know. That might interfere with the nap.
City might not be as bustling from like a nightlife perspective, but it'll certainly be hopping from like a commerce perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of shops.
All right. Geoff, why don't we hear your list first?
Okay. I'll start at number 4. I'll go. You know what? This movie sold me on the 20s, at least up until 1928, 29. Why not?
Yeah.
This sort of cultural renaissance, if you will, of all these important players. Sure. Why not? I'll let Gil take me on an adventure for one of these nights so I could sit in a room with all these people. Maybe I'll find some mathematical figures or something from this period and be like, oh, what's up with y'all? It's good to meet you guys. Number 3, I had the 70s. I think from just like a cultural perspective more than anything, I think the 70s was something that I know has been influential for other sort of later decades that have had a profound impact on my life. So I'd like to check that out. I feel like the top 2 are fun inspired, but I think that's okay just because they were the first 2 that came to my mind. Number 2 would be the 1950s. I'm thinking of the post-war boom. And when I look, fun fact, when you look in like my letterbox for people who have Patreon memberships and like people that pay, you can see which decades of movies you've rated the highest. And technically, they say I've rated the 1950s the highest. Now, also, I'm specifically picking out like really well-known movies from that period of time, but like I'm going through there and I'm like, huh, a lot of Akira Kurosawa, a lot of Billy Wilder, some of the big hitters from the time frame and the older figures that I know looked up to. Hitchcock is still working in this time, so it's, yeah, why not? I'd go back to the 50s. I'll check this out. And then number one for me, and this was by far my number one, would be to go back to the 90s. And because I was born in the 90s, I guess I would technically be called like a 2000s kid, less than a 90s kid. And I would love to see the 90s from as an adult and kind of see like the music that I've grown to really love, see it play out the way it does, or the early 90s where the Bills were as amazing as they were, going to all of the Super Bowls. No, I don't want to live through that heartbreak, but come on, if I'm going back for a night, take me back to the greatest playoff comeback of all time. Why not? Or go back to the television shows that we grew to love from the 90s and stuff. So I think the 90s for me was the far and away number one that I would love to go back and travel to.
All right. Good list. Thank you. Ben, let's hear your list.
All right. So I have a couple honorable mentions. I put for my honorable mentions, I put the 1940s, post-war 1940s, I should say, like 45 to 50.
Very important distinction.
Yes. As well as the 1780s, Hamilton era, just like my country, I'm young, scrappy, and hungry.
Yeah, you get to see the musical written in real time.
Yeah,
there you
that's
go.
right. See how it is. I mean, and the 1890s, the Gilded Age, which was also shown in the film, of course. So those are my honorable mentions. My number four, like Geoff said, I put the 1990s, and I put it because I'm older than Geoff, so I very much remember that a lot of the 90s as a kid. And I put it because for the same reason you said, Geoff, is I'd like to see it as an adult.
Yes.
However, I wouldn't trade it as, I think it was the best time to be a kid. And I do not have any qualms about living through that decade as a kid. I would just be curious to see it as an adult. So I put that at my number four, but I wouldn't, if they were like, you can live through the 90s as an adult, or you can keep what you had and live it through it as a kid, I would keep what I had. Number three, the 1960s. Obviously a very turbulent decade, but still a very interesting decade to me. And then the change that happened from the JFK, Camelot, very regal type of feeling at the beginning of the decade to like the countercultural, Vietnam, hippies, thing like I can't think of a decade where things changed so much from beginning to end. And how different 1960 was from 1969 is just wild to me. And I think that'd be really interesting to see in real time unfolding. Number two is the 20s. Geoff already mentioned, but come on, it's the roaring 20s. Go to your speakeasies, go to your hang out with your flappers and gangsters and have a good time. I've always thought that's a really cool time period. And obviously films like Midnight in Paris just reinforce that for me. Interesting too, that like in the 1820s was considered called the era of good feelings, at least until 1825. And then the 1920s is the roaring 20s. I don't feel like the 2020s are living up to
no, I'd say not.
to being such a great decade like the others. Personally, I'm having a good decade, but I don't feel like we're having a great decade as a country.
I don't think a lot of people are going to be going back, like people in 2090 are going to be going back to the 2020s being like this cultural boom.
Maybe the second half will have better things
maybe
in
we'll
store.
get because to be fair, in the 1820s, the first half was the era of good feelings, and then there was like less good feelings in the second half. So maybe we'll turn a corner. Number one by far is the 1950s. Yeah. I have been obsessed with the 50s since I got into Happy Days and Bye Bye Birdie as a kid. I just love the idea of the malt shops and the sock hops and the being a teen in the 50s. I feel like would have been super fun, a kid or a teen in the 50s. And I know there's some weird underbelly things probably going on, but like the stereotypical 50s stuff, I feel like is really fun. And obviously there's people I know. I remember my uncle talked about they'd go to the football game downtown and then go to the malt shop, which is where a restaurant is now. I just love that
Right.
image. I've always been obsessed with that since I was a kid. I had a 50s themed birthday party when I was in elementary school. So that is by far my number one. I would love to spend a day or a few days or a time in the 50s.
I'm so surprised.
I know. It seemed unlike me.
Very
Right.
off-brand.
Yeah, very off brand.
Okay, so my list, here's the thing. I don't know a lot about history. Okay. So anything that I say here is completely based off of vibes and like the stereotypical things that you think of in that decade.
I mean,
Like
I
you were
do know a lot
saying.
about history. I still went off of vibes and stereotypes.
No, I know.
Right.
I'm just saying, don't be like, well, this was happening. Because I don't
Oh.
care.
I love when you do your impressions of me.
So good.
Also, I don't really have good reasonings for any of these. So here we go.
What was the one list that I did that was just like I just shot through 4 things and everyone just laughed at me? And
It was one of the
like,
songs ones. Was it
it
Elvis
was a
songs?
songs one. That's right.
Yeah. So my number 4 is the 70s because I don't know,
Vibes.
peace and love and hippies and yeah. 80s because culture vibes, man. I feel like a lot of good stuff came out of the 80s and in terms of culture. Number 2 is the 2000s, which I feel like is too recent, but also I don't, it was not a long time ago. There's been some separation now.
Oh, for sure.
And-
I think it's definitely a time period people have grown nostalgic for now.
Yeah, definitely. It was we were at a very interesting place with technology,
Mhm.
kind of at not the breaking point, but like at that next wave of where
Yeah.
technology was going to take us at that point.
The dot-com bubble had popped and 9/11 was there in the early stages, and you have the Great Recession at the end of it all. But later in that middle point, there's definitely that.
Yeah,
So
you
yeah,
know,
for sure.
vibes. And then my number 1 is the 90s. Because similarly to Geoff, I was born in the 90s, 90 to be exact. So I definitely lived through the 90s and loved the 90s as a child. And I always feel like, even though I'm not a Zennial, I almost feel a little bit like I am because my sister was 10 years older than me. And so in the 90s, she was like being a teenager in the 90s, and I got to experience that with her. So I almost feel like I got to be a teenager and a child in the 90s, which is a fun experience. So, anyways, the 90s.
It's funny because
Yay.
even though my wife and I are only a year and a half apart, she's a year and a half older than me, but she was the youngest. So her cultural references and growing up are very 80s focused.
Yeah,
And mine, as the oldest of my family, we're very 90s focused.
that's
So
interesting.
despite
Yeah.
the fact that we're very close in age, our cultural palette from being children is wildly different.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like when I was younger, I would listen to all of my sister's music. The things that, like, I don't know, not a kid would be listening to in the 90s. Like I was listening to that and it's, yeah, no, I understand. And even some of the references from like the 80s, I'm like, yeah, no, I get that. Cause like she was there. She did all
Right.
that stuff. So, anyways, I feel like even though nostalgia is a hell of a drug and the 90s weren't perfect, I think the 90s were still pretty cool.
I feel like most people think that.
Yeah, I think it
know.
would hold up.
I think it holds up. I feel like it was the last decade that didn't really have. Not that every decade has its issues, but the last decade that didn't really have something catastrophic.
Yeah, for sure. That brings us to the end of Midnight in Paris. If you'd like to watch along with us next week, you can't. I got you again. It's so funny when I do that. No, next week we will have a mini episode. We did a burger draft with some of our friends. And
Just in honor of Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Right?
The most popular Thanksgiving food. We decided to honor that. And if you don't understand what I mean by a burger draft, Just listen next week and everything will become clear.
Good.
After that episode, we will be jumping into our holiday season viewings. So be sure to tune in for that as well. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a rating or review and follow us on all our social channels. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see y'all next week.
To infinity and beyond!
Why so serious?
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
I said it before and I'll say it again. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.